There have been plenty of warnings, but lonely Australians are still losing more than $20 million a year in online romance scams. The fallout can be devastating and potentially fatal. Earlier this year, a West Australian woman was found dead, presumed murdered, in South Africa after travelling there to see a Nigerian man she'd met online. Police are determined to tackle the organised crime gangs behind the scams, but as Claire Moody reports, it's a big battle.
It's daybreak in Kambalda in WA's goldfields, an isolated mining town on the edge of a giant salt lake. It's a place to make money and get ahead in the area's gold and nickel industries, but it can also be lonely.
You may get the odd single woman come to town, but it's very rare. It's very slim pickings.
50-year-old divorcee Neil Johnston turned to the internet to find companionship. It wasn't long before the underground driller struck gold of a different kind.
She seemed like everything a guy could want in a woman.
The perfect partner?
Yeah, absolutely perfect.
So did you love her?
Yes, I fell in love with her.
Going by these emails, the feeling was mutual. Mavis Mensah claimed to be an Australian living in West Africa who was keen to join Neil in WA and start a new life together. But there was heartbreak ahead.
I finished work, I was on night shift, and I got that message and I was over the moon. It was all happening. Jumped in the car, drove to Perth, very excited, and got to the airport, nothing.
This plane ticket, one of 5 Neil Johnston paid for over their year-long relationship, turned out to be a fake, and so was Mavis. These photos actually belong to a model based in the US. Detective Sergeant Rob Martin from the WA Major Fraud Squad has heard it all before.
It's a very unpleasant job to have to actually turn up on the victim's doorstep and break the news that the person that has made them feel better than they've felt for a very long time isn't real. Hello,
Hi,
Tracy.
Rob. Today he's visiting Tracy Holmes in one of Perth's southern suburbs. She's still coming to terms with the fact that she's been conned.
How are you feeling, Tracy?
Pretty angry, actually, at the moment.
This is the man she thought was in love with her, Ted Hamilton from the United States. Over the past year, she's sent him $25,000 to help with his business.
I actually thought he was a lovely gentleman, and I thought he had the most sexy voice I've ever heard from a man.
But the romance turned ugly when Tracy discovered she was being scammed. These photographs of an unknown man were probably lifted from a social media site.
You are willing to talk to me, you changed your email, you changed everything.
Now the scammer is blackmailing her over revealing photos she emailed to him.
He has scantily clad pictures, you know, not fully exposed, but, you know, pretty scantily clad. So he's been accumulating information about me all this time and using it against me to now blackmail me into paying him $10,000.
The 48-year-old has also been duped into becoming a so-called money mule, people used by the scammers to funnel stolen cash through Australian bank accounts. With about 300 new scam victims a month in WA, the state's fraud squad has pooled resources with the Department of Consumer Protection to take on the fraudsters.
All of Australia is being targeted. We've chosen to do something about it here in a way that perhaps is fairly unique.
Called Operation Sunbird, it's identifying scams by tracking large money transactions from WA to West African countries and then contacting victims initially by post.
In 63% of cases, we're not seeing any further transactions following that first letter.
but others refuse to face the truth and keep sending the money.
So in this case, where the lady has actually asked the gentleman to wave at her, to actually show that's proof that she's dealing with that person, you're saying that they can just push a button and make the actual image look like they're waving?
Absolutely. I've got one here actually. Look, I can click on that button, there we go, and she waves.
Detective Sergeant Rob Martin says while the victims might seem naive, the scammers are convincing and constantly refining their techniques.
To me, they seem like trained psychologists, the way they're able to actually manipulate the victim. They're able to tap into the things that actually push the buttons of the victim.
But the costs can go well beyond financial loss. In March, 67-year-old West Australian woman Yetta Jacobs was found dead in South Africa after she travelled there to meet this man who she'd been sending money to online. Since then, police have stopped several others from travelling overseas.
We had an occasion where a gentleman was from here in his 70s, was about to travel to Ghana. We were able to get the name of the person that was going to collect him from the airport. He was there to meet a love interest, a young girl. She'd actually provided the name of the so-called brother to this gentleman. And once we did the check, we identified he was a member of a criminal gang called the Sakawa Boys. They were an organised crime gang based in Ghana.
Those witnessing the impact firsthand say Australia needs to set up an effective national task force to come anywhere close to winning the battle. Back in the goldfields, Neil Johnston is paying a heavy price for his leap of faith, and not just emotionally. He borrowed most of the $100,000 he sent to West Africa and claims he was upfront with the banks over what he needed most of the loans for.
I've got to find somehow to pay all this money back, and it could mean losing every single thing that I've got.
Dr Cassandra Cross researched online fraud while working for Queensland Police, a jurisdiction that's also been proactive in tackling the cyber love phenomenon.
We too easily attribute blame to the victim. We see them as being greedy, as being gullible, and we believe that they should have been able to recognise it, because for us as a third party on the outside it seems so obvious that the situation presented to the victim was fraud. But in doing that we really do underestimate the role of the offender.
Tracy Holmes has been warned she will be retargeted in the coming months. Now her details are being circulated among the scammers.
I was married for 25 years, and you walk out of a marriage and 25 years ago things were a lot different, and there's cyber world and people live in cyber world, and I got addicted to cyber world because I thought it was safe.
She's speaking out to stop other women from falling into the same trap.
And I'm just telling every woman out there, do not send pictures, do not talk to somebody who won't show their face, don't ever send cash to someone, you know, it can ruin your life.
Claire Moody reporting.